Lindsay Reedros, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our show, Mercredi de Lindsay. You're from South Africa. It's not the first time that you're coming in Mauritius. You started as a lawyer, and nowadays you are in the fast food industry, we can say. How you made that jump?
In fact, Jean-Claude, I've been living in Mauritius for 3 years now. I studied law at university in Cape Town, at Stellenbosch University. I then practiced law after qualifying. I practiced law for 3 or 4 years at a legal firm and as a legal advisor for an insurance company. I then got into the film industry, where we were financing and distributing feature films. I then got into the television business and subsequently came to Mauritius to start a chain of coffee bars. It's been quite amazing. The journey's been quite amazing because I've tended to spend my life convincing people and getting people to understand that the impossible is possible. Because when I left law, having studied law, people thought I was crazy. And to start a film finance and distribution company, because the film industry in South Africa at the time wasn't a really budding industry. But we did something new and unique, and we lobbied government. They changed the Income Tax Act, we got going, and we eventually got bought in by a public listed company. I then started a television production company because there was another gap in the market to start producing quality product in South Africa. And again, to be unique and different, I started my production company in Cape Town, where everybody was based. The broadcasters and all the production companies were based in Johannesburg, which at the time was the financial capital of South Africa. Again, people said, "You're crazy." It didn't take us long to become the biggest content provider for the broadcasters in South Africa, and we were so successful that we became Fremantle Media, which is the biggest international content provider in the world. So we were bought by Pearson Television or the Pearson Media Group and Bertelsmann, who own BMG Records, and co-own Fremantle. So I ran Fremantle Media, South Africa, and eventually Africa. We started doing productions in Kenya and Nigeria. All along the way, I was always fascinated and always hung out in coffee bars.
Why?
It was a passion of mine.
After work you had to compress lack of...
Yeah, I loved coffee. I loved the vibe. It was my third space. Between home and the office, there was this place that I liked to have a meeting out of the office, where I met business colleagues, sometimes friends, sometimes did networking just to get out of the office. And so coffee was always something that I had a huge interest in, especially good coffee. In my later years, when I think I saw that South Africa, the new democracy in South Africa wasn't working that well, things were becoming more and more difficult, crime was increasing, business opportunities were increasing, or business opportunities were decreasing and crime was increasing. I was looking at doing something as a family business. At that stage, I hadn't thought of doing anything outside of South Africa, but the opportunity in investigating and looking for an opportunity to do a family business, an opportunity arose in Mauritius.
Why Mauritius?
Because I think the brand Vida E-Cafe had been trying to get into the Mauritian market so that they could dominate coffee in the Indian Ocean. And when they met me, and Vida had grown extensively in South Africa, and the opportunities for coffee bars in South Africa and for good sites in South Africa had, in most of the big malls, had been taken up. It was suggested to me by the managing director or the CEO of Vida at the time, what about Mauritius? And I'd holidayed a lot in Mauritius. In fact, we used to holiday here almost every second year, holiday in Mauritius. And yes, you could buy great French wines, the local beer was amazing. Mauritius seemed to have most things except quality coffee. So it was obviously something I'd banked in the back of my head. So I came over, explored the market here, and my son-in-law and myself then decided to bring our families, relocate to Mauritius, and form the Life and Coffee Company. And we kicked off with 4 Vida outlets around the island.
Why have you chosen coffee? Because we know everyone in Mauritius nearly drinks coffee. But it's a type of coffee, but it's not said as coffee in your word.
Everybody.
It's like a chicorée in Italy.
Exactly.
Why have you decided to go into a market which is difficult in Mauritius, which is the coffee market?
Everybody in the world drinks coffee. It is I think it's the second most drunk commodity to water in the world, the second most traded commodity to oil. Coffee is almost recession-proof in most countries, and people drink it in the cold northern hemisphere. They drink it in the United Arab Emirates, in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, in the desert where it's 40 degrees. Coffee and the upmarket, unique third space feeling of a coffee bar, if it's run properly, will work wherever you go. But it's got to be run properly.
But it's not in the Mauritian habit. You have to create a new habit. We are used to pubs, we are used to restaurants, but you're not used to a coffee bar.
Exactly. And that was the challenge. When we came over, again, we knew we had to have a quality product at a good price. We were a premium coffee brand coming over, but we couldn't price ourselves out the market. We had to be unique, so we introduced self-service, where people queued up, placed their orders, and within a 3-minute span, that was our goal, to get people through the system. They would either have coffee or something to eat. So it was quick, efficient service of good quality product in a unique environment. So we created a big table with and chairs and with smaller tables. But we had this big table where we put out magazines and newspapers, and it didn't take people long, from different backgrounds, cultures, all sitting together, having coffee, placing their order. They loved the vibe, they loved the atmosphere. So again, it was something unique and new that grabbed the market.
Lindsay, when you created that concept, was it at the time that you were doing networking meetings outside? You say to me, outside office meeting. It was that concept, the idea to be very leisure, coffee, pleasure. We can say pleasure time.
Correct.
Break time.
Yes, I've always been inspired by the third place environment, which is a place, as I said, between work and home, where you can go and have a meeting. You can Facebook, you can get onto social media because we provide free Wi-Fi. You can work on your laptop. You can have a business meeting or you can have a social meeting. You can network. You can be in between meetings. Somebody can phone you and you can say, well, I'm in the area, I'll meet you at Vida. And you meet at Vida, have a cup of coffee, have a meeting, and you move on to your next appointment. It's just a great meeting place with a great vibe. Snappy service, good quality.
That is important. Free service, snappy time. Is it very important to you?
Very important. Our goal, as I mentioned, is from the time you get to the till, that within 3 minutes you will have your drink and your food. Sometimes it might take longer if it's a big order, but our turnaround time and the goal we try and train our staff towards is a 3-minute turnaround time. So we try and focus on quality. We try and focus on good price. Secondly, on being unique. In other words, our destination has to attract the customers with a good vibe and a good atmosphere and snappy service. And thirdly, we're very customer focused. We try and, instead of, I think the old customer service revolved around a smiling waiter giving somebody a menu. We now try and push that more towards customer intimacy. In other words, we recognize people, we recognize our regulars, we engage them, we chat to them, we try and charm them. We try and remember their orders, so that as somebody walks up to the counter, we're already saying, "Here comes Mr. Cappuccino," and get his drink, in the system, so he can get some snappy service.
When someone, a newcomer, a new customer comes, he's only knows his home coffee. Are your waiter, you said you have quality waiters, can explain to him or to her?
Training.
Coffee, we have Arabica, we have Mocha. These are the mostly known, but some specialties that you have. Maybe you want to have a small little cafe, but maybe someone comes to your coffee bar, he will have a long night. Is there another coffee for him?
It's a very good point, that, because that's, besides recognizing your regulars and knowing their order and satisfying their needs, it's also very, very important to engage new customers, and that's a very important part of our training. So if you see a new face coming into the shop, immediately as they hit what we call a hot spot, which is near our display, where all our foods are displayed, or close to the till where they're going to place their order, a staff member should immediately engage them, one of our baristas or our food specialists, and welcome the person and try and upsell to them. Find out what they're looking for, recommend various coffees or flavored coffees, or if it's a particularly hot day and they want something cold, an iced drink, and then try and upsell food to them and tell them that we've got fresh muffins, freshly baked croissants or pain au chocolat, or any of our cakes or pastries. So it's all about a focus on the customer. Very important fact.
So we can see in your concept there are two lines. You know your customer, Mr. Cappuccino, you don't, and you have another one. It's very a sort of switch in the waiter's head. Oh, this is a new customer. He does not know about the coffee bar, so I'm going to attract him. And then when Mr. Cappuccino, who knows everything, okay, Mr. How are you? We go maybe in a chit chat, and then the other pass, because he knows he's going to take his coffee. Is that there are two lines of direction for each waiter? We can say.
Well, our front of line people are invariably our baristas and our food specialists, and they are normally very well trained. They write exams to move up into the different levels, from hygiene to food and on to coffee. They've got to pass with more than 80%. We emphasize service a lot, and the whole idea is to recognize, engage, and communicate with our customers. We look at people as our biggest treasure and our biggest asset. Our people, number one, our staff, because if your staff's good, they will attract the customers. So us as owners and shareholders, we further down the pecking order. The most important people are our staff, and the second most important people are our customers. Because without good staff, you won't have customers.
Lindsay, you said something very interesting, because in Mauritius or elsewhere in the world, sometimes we put the customer first and then we put the staff. You made the old way round. Why? You put your staff first and then the customer. Normally we say, le client est pas the French.
Look, the customers are vitally important, but, and most probably the most important thing, but if you don't look after your staff, you can end up having a beautiful venue, a stunning coffee bar or restaurant, You can have the best equipment, and it can be filled with a bunch of statues or corpses who are half asleep and do not attract customers. So that's why I say staff is so important, properly trained staff. If you've got the right venue, if you've got good equipment to make consistently good food and coffee, and you've got passionate and responsible staff who are well trained, the customers will come. So I tend to say, number one, staff, because if you look after your staff, they will attract the customers. You don't grow a business. You don't grow a coffee bar or a company. You grow people, and they grow the business for you. So hence my saying is that if you look after your staff, number one, they will make your venue come alive, and they will just attract the customers, because people will be drawn to that vibe, that energy, and that passion. They feel it, they feed off it.
Last question on coffee. Do you buy your coffee locally, or you import from other parts of the world?
Well, the roastery that we get our coffee from is based in South Africa, at our head office where our franchise is situated, and those coffee beans are sourced in South America. Italian experts source Arabica coffee beans from high in the mountains in South America. They then get shipped to South Africa to head office's roastery, where they get roasted and packaged. And then I think our benefit is the coffee, like a good wine, is allowed to lie, because it sometimes spends time to get to Mauritius. So the coffee is not being opened when it's too fresh. It has time to settle. I think we get the benefit of a bit of traveling time for the coffee to settle. And but yes, our coffee comes in from South Africa, from the roastery, where we get a consistent coffee bean, which is Vida owned. It's a Vida branded coffee.
How can I recognize that brand? There's flavor, there's quality, there's scent.
Yeah, I think it's got a beautiful aroma. I think it's a very gentle coffee. It's not too overpowering. It hasn't got a burnt taste, because our baristas are also trained to time the pulling of their shots. So it's one of our secrets. Everything's done according to time. Our milk is textured with a thermometer. Our shots are timed with a stopwatch, so that there's consistency. Because another thing that's very important is what you don't want is customers are coming to your shop or your shops on a certain day and saying, "Ooh, I see my favorite barista's off today, so the coffee might not be the same." The coffee has to be the same every day, and also at all our different outlets around the island. People want that consistency. People in Mauritius move around the island. They could be in the center, they could be in the north, they could be in the west. And if they're looking for their third place to go for coffee, to have a meeting, to download their emails, to do some emails, and at the same time, have a nice cup of coffee, we want to keep that consistency, not only on a daily basis in the shop, but across all our stores. That's vital. You can't have a good coffee one day and a burnt coffee the next day. It's got to be consistent.
For you, it's vital to have the same coffee experience. So
exactly.
The coffee outlet, as you said, in the fall, should be or must be. Is it should be or must be the same?
Has to be. Must be.
Must be.
That's what we strive for.
How do you control that? You go to outlet 1, you test it. You go to outlet 4, you test it. Or
you have to be
they are blind test.
You have to be hands-on, like in any business. We are very hands-on. We are in our shops. We have coffee every day, but also we've got very well-trained managers who have two supervisors reporting to them, and part of their job is to ensure that all the procedures that we've taught them are being followed through and trained with our staff. Because if you follow our procedures, every cup of coffee will be the same.
let's get out from the coffee time and come some. You have lunch in Mauritius in Score. That's right, retail Mauritius.
Correct.
Which is a branch of South African.
InScore Africa is a big Pan-African diversified company that are into distribution, manufacture, electronic goods, but a big portion of InScore is their quick service, casual dining brands. They're a company that turn over some $1 billion a year in Africa. They must be based in 11 or 12 countries in Africa, 400 to 500 counters all over Africa. I'm vague because the number changes all the time. They're opening brands in new territories, extra brands in extra shops in Kenya, Nigeria. As the malls go up, so InScore spread their wings in Africa. And InScore were looking at Mauritius as a market. And
market for what?
As a market for their quick service outlets, food brands.
What when you say quick service outlet, what do you mean?
InScore brands that we're going to be introducing in Mauritius are Galitos, which is a flame grilled chicken brand, Chicken Inn, which is a fried chicken brand, Pizza Inn, obviously a pizza brand, and Creamy Inn, which is a dessert ice cream milkshake brand. And InScore had been eyeing the Mauritian market for some time. Being an African company, they like the market. They know it's not a big market, but they know that it's a market where people have money. Yes, but it's also a market where there's a big middle class. And quick service restaurants feed on a strong middle class market. Because often you will find a situation in Mauritius where both husband and wife will work. So they're busy during the day. In the evening, they're tired. They get home from a long day at the office. They look at each other. I don't feel like cooking. You don't feel like cooking. So out you go for something to eat. But you can't fine dine every night. So you need to be looking for a healthy option where you can get quality food at a decent price. So I'm going back to quality and price again. And where InScore have been so strong in Africa is that their mission, their goal, their core value is to serve quality food at the lowest. They don't even say at a good price. They say at the lowest possible price. So InScore tend to, in Africa, own their supply chain. So they will own the farm that grows the chickens, or own the farm that grows the maize that feeds the chickens on their farm that ends up on someone's plate. So they own the bakeries that make their bread. They own the pie factories that make their pies, etc., etc. So they really are a big company, and they like the look of the market. They'd been exploring this market. They liked our brand, Vida. They liked the way we ran our shops. They liked the vibe in the shops. They liked the fact that we were hands-on operators, that our staff were well trained. So, yeah, we got chatting, and we've now done a joint venture to form InScore Mauritius, and we will be soon opening there more Vidas, but also the InScore food brands. Let's call them the InScore food brands in Mauritius.
Why have you chosen chicken, pizza, and creamy? You said creamy.
Creamy.
The main market. To me, it's an easy market.
Those are their quality brands that work very, very well in Africa. So we are bringing their knowledge and expertise in those brands to Mauritius.
But Mauritius and Africa, there's a difference. Africans are Africans. We are Mauritians. We come from every part of the world.
I think chicken is
center.
Is very big in Mauritius, and I think everybody loves a good juicy pizza, And the sweet option, I've noticed now, having had coffee bars in Mauritius for 3 years, that Mauritian people like, they have a sweet tooth. They like to, it might even be late on a Saturday evening, after movies. Our shop can be busy at 10:30 or 11 o'clock, where our customers are having a coffee before they go home and something sweet, a Lindt chocolate muffin. So I think Creamy Inn is a good way to go, because the in-score option is again very unique, which is, you'll notice I use the word unique a lot because I like being different. I think that's why people say you're crazy, and you have to. I'm always trying to convince people that the impossible is possible. But what InScore do is they create a mini food court, or let's call it a little food destination. So if you go to one of the outlets where we will be opening, let's call them the InScore brands, you will see a restaurant area, a casual dining restaurant area with 3 counters maybe. A Galito's counter where you can get flame grilled chicken, chips, salads, etc. A Pizza Inn counter and a Creamy counter. So you'll be able to sit and order from either counter. So if I feel like chicken and you feel like pizza, we can order. Or the table can order, if you're a large table, a big pizza, and you can kick off with that, and then you can order a platter with chicken and prawns and chips, etc., etc.
You said that you like to be unique. When I see I don't like the chicken fast food. What are you bringing? So you have a big competitor coming from South Africa. You have the number one. You know who is the number one. There's the number 2.
Yes.
What's new that you're bringing in Galito's Chicken, in Chicken Inn, for you to beat these big players on the market?
I think we're going to be looking at quality and price. They're going to be big drivers for us, and consistency. I think consistency is very important. We've learned that with coffee. I think you need to be consistent. First of all, you've got to offer a value proposition, quality with a good price, and you've got to do it consistently. And I think a lot of iconic brands that have come to this island and have slowly closed down, some of them have even gone home. We see a gap in the food market. We think there's opportunity in the food space for quality and price. Mauritian people are very, very price driven. They will not have the wool pulled over their eyes. They will not pay for something that they don't think deserves that price. So I think you've got to get that balance right. I don't think you can come into this market and offer casual dining or quick service food and expect to offer fine dining prices. So I think you've got to be fair to the market, and that's where we see a gap, to offer quality at a good price.
What about taste?
And
This is another factor. I won't come to your place, and you have the same flavor, I put it in inverted commas, but your competitors. What about the taste? Are you coming with some new recipes, maybe some South African, but you talk to your partner, Mauritius is not ready for that type, but we can put it in the Mauritian sauce so that you will be able to have a bigger market.
Exactly. I think that again was another very important factor. We headhunted some very talented, look, they're brand new, but talented restaurant managers, and they have spent time in Africa with InScore doing training. So they've been in countries like Zimbabwe, in Kenya, some of them even in South Africa, looking at the menus, looking at the classic InScore, call them recipes. And then these guys, because they experienced restaurant managers from Mauritius are saying that will work well in Mauritius. We just need to add these spices and those flavors. So our grillers and our pizza guys are going through a training patch or period at the moment prior to opening our stores where they are experimenting with these flavors so that we can introduce something new and exciting to the market. So there's been a lot of input from our Mauritian managers.
But what if clash for someone that comes from Africa and say, oh my God, in school, he's going to have something that he's used to have. It's the same name, but the flavor might be some different. What about his experience in that area? You can come and say, put on advisor, you know how it is now in system. Okay, the Mauritian...
that maybe it's a bit more spicy in Mauritius.
Yeah, it's more chilly in Mauritius. You have to be attentive to that.
We'll obviously have to take cognizance of that if we do have tourists and say to them that should they order this particular kind of pizza or that particular flavor, how do they, do they want it hot and spicy, or would they like it with lemon and herbs? There will be obviously our waiters will be trained to handle those situations, because not everybody likes very hot or very spicy food. But yes, we will be creating our own preservative-free spices and sauces, which I think is a big plus as well.
So we can say that you have the original recipe and the Mauritian recipe,
and the Mauritian,
so that your customer coming from South Africa, maybe your parents, but still coming, would like to have
exactly
the same flavor that he has in South Africa. Get the same instead of having a little bit curry or something to the Mauritian.
Exactly.
So the customer will have the choice to use the original or the Mauritian one.
I think that's where InScore have taught us quite interesting lessons, because if you look at their penetration of the African market, the Kenyan market is different to the Nigerian market, is different to the Tanzanian market, is different to the market in the Cameroons or the DRC. And somehow InScore have been almost like a chameleon. They've been able to adapt to all the different markets in Africa. So I think they are quite experienced at having core dishes, but being able to adapt them to the different markets. So they're very open to those kind of ideas. That's why we sent our managers for training.
Let us talk about the pizza. The brands in Mauritius, international brands, local brands. What are you going to give to your customers to have a good experience? Of a new recipe, or we will go into the normal Hawaiian margaritas, or are you going to create, or have you created your own pizza that you're going to put in your pizza in?
I think you have to have your classicos, your classical pizzas, and then there will be pizzas that will be adapted to the Mauritian market. And again, there's been a lot of input from our managers. I think a lot of emphasis is going to be placed on giving people a fair deal when it comes to pizzas. In other words, not skimping on ingredients, giving nice full pizzas with a good base. So people can order a thin base. For example, some people are very keen on a very thin base pizzas. Other people feel cheated with a thin base. They like a big thick base. So we will be catering for thin base and a thicker base pizza, fresh dough, fresh ingredients, and not holding back. Good cheese, good quality.
And for the creamy in, so maybe someone won't take it because are you going to have low fat, whatsoever for lani feminine, for those who want to keep
absolutely
their weight.
Yeah, we do that with our milk in our coffee bars, and we'll do the same. We'll obviously be halal certified, very important in Mauritius, and also we will bear in mind the healthy option. I think that's very key.
It's important to have a healthy option in all your brands, but from coffee to
exactly, yeah, very, very important.
Why?
I think Mauritius being an island, people like to eat here. We want to tap into that market. I see people really enjoying their food, but I think people are also becoming more and more conscious, because maybe from a health perspective, I think at one stage diabetes was particularly high on the island, and people were having to watch what they eat and manage their eating habits better. So I think you need to cater for that. We even, from a Vida perspective, looking at increasing the size of our kitchens so that we can start preparing meals and lunches that have maybe more of a salad option, maybe oats for breakfast, just little adaptations. You don't want to go away from your core business, but it's always good to see and look at the market and adapt accordingly. So you give people choices.
Lindsay, because you say to me that the number one is quality, and then there's service. Do you have the personal, I know that you're in a recruiting phase, do you have these personal emotions? You said that you have restaurant managers, they have experience, they know the market. Maybe they have worked in fast food or with hotels, in the hotel industry. But for the grillers, the waiters, how is it going right now?
Since coming to Mauritius 3 years ago, I've always been impressed by the skill levels of the Mauritian people. Our staff learn very quickly. If I go back to Vida, we're now 3 years old. That's still a baby, but we've had 3 years of experience. We have very, very talented staff. We have very motivated, passionate staff. We lose staff in the first 3 months. Let's call it the probation period, the first 90 days. And that's fair, because it gives us an opportunity to assess the staff member, and it gives the staff member an opportunity to assess our brand and our style of doing things. So our turnover in staff happens in the first 90 days. And I think that's fair, because you can go and take on a job and you suddenly realize it's not for me. But once our staff have come with us and have passed their probation period, they tend to stay. We have a lot of staff that started with us at the lowest level who are now managers and supervisors at Vida. And we're very proud of them, because our training procedures at Vida means that it doesn't matter who you are, you will always have to go through our training. And that means starting at the bottom, from hygiene and keeping the store clean, through to food, through to coffee. So even if you join us as a person with experience, you will start at the bottom and you will work your way through, pass your exams. You might go faster than somebody else, than some 18, 19-year-old who has just started with us and doesn't have much experience. Because there are people that get fast-tracked purely because they've got experience and they're very good. But generally, the staff in Mauritius are multi-skilled, they're keen to learn, and once they buy into your vision and where you are taking the company, then they become incredibly loyal. So that's another lesson we've learned. It's something I preach, I suppose, is that we continuously have our business in a form of alignment. I know alignment is a overused word. People throw the word around. But if your business is properly aligned, in other words, if you have clear goals and clear visions for your staff, you set out the values and the behaviors that you expect from your employees. In other words, they know where they're going and they know what to do to get there, and you spell out what the rewards and the consequences will be should they adhere to those values and behaviors and we reach our goals. So not only will you get praise and recognition, but you'll get loyal customers coming all the time, which is a great sense of satisfaction. But you'll also get a bonus. You might get a promotion. You might get an increase in salary. So they know what our vision is and what our goal is. They know what values and behaviors and skills they're supposed to perform and learn. It's very clear to them. If they step out of line, they get disciplined. If they follow those behavioral patterns, we reach our goals, they get rewarded.
You just told me, Mr. Ross, that whoever enters into your company has to sweep, do the hygiene, go to the waiter. But sometimes there are guys or ladies, but they are not used to that type of concept. Okay, I'm here to be a manager. I won't be able. I don't feel myself comfortable to clean and then to go to my office or to do the normal work. What? Do this happen? You have this type of behavior, or in the training you're going, or at the recruiting time, you're going to be manager, but you have to clean and so that you know the process instead of sitting here and then having to make fire control. I tell it fire control.
I think it's all about being open and honest with people. We sit down with our. We've just appointed 2 new managers because we're going to be opening a new Vida in Grand Bay, and they trained at our La Coisette store, and they started at the bottom, and once they progressed through to food and coffee, after a month, 4 or 5 weeks, we sent them to South Africa where they got further training, management training. Now they're back, and they will be looking after our store on the beachfront in Grand Bay. But it was spelled out to them in the beginning that that's how it happens at Vida. It's slightly different in the food brands because there, for example, as you correctly mentioned, you've got pizza makers, people specializing in pizza. You've got people specializing in grilling. You've got managers who do the stock takes and oversee and manage the store and the rosters, etc. You've got waiters who are taking people's money, serving drinks, serving food, etc., etc. They also have to know the menu. You've got different categories then. But I think as long as your business is, as I said, properly aligned, everybody knows their functions and where they fit in, you've got a chance of reaching your goal.
Sure, you have a chance to reach your goal, Mauritius.
So I think our training is a 2-track type of training, because you've got people who they might have started with you at a lower level, but you can see they've got leadership qualities. They will go on to become managers one day. As you open new stores and people get promoted, you can see people who are going to come through. But by the same token, you might have a baker who might not be a manager, but he's a brilliant baker. You have to map out a career path for that very important baker as well, who might not have the management skills. Otherwise, you'll lose that person. So you've got to have this 2-tier system of looking for people with management and leadership skills that can run a store for you, but you've also got to reward the brilliant grillers and the brilliant bakers and the brilliant baristas who are great at their jobs but don't necessarily want the responsibility of managing a store.
2 last questions, Lindsay, with Ross, because time is going by. First one, is it important to have a training in Mauritius for the grillers, the bakers, what you say? And another one in South Africa, because it's not the same? Or you're not able to deliver that type of training in
we sent our managers and our assistant managers for training. They will come back with expert grillers that we are bringing in from Africa, and when our stores are being built in such a way that our kitchens will be ready first. So at the moment, our staff is going through theoretical training, learning recipes, etc., discussing new recipes, and as soon as the kitchens are ready and open, practical training will start. So we've got expert grillers, expert pizza makers coming in. We've got our own managers and assistant managers who went over for training, and they are conducting the training. So the grillers that we are getting from other brands or from various hotels, whoever have joined us, they will get in a specialized training in our own kitchens. Training, very important.
Do you have a little story about someone that came in your office some month ago? You said, no, this guy won't fit in, but suddenly he exploded. You've seen all his talent, all his skills, and willing to go forward, and then you have that success story that you would like to put forward to tell, hey, this is guys started here, and now he's here. He's the best, but at the start he was not the best.
I can think of a few people. I can think of two guys, for example, at our Bagatelle store. The one chap is actually the manager of our store at the moment. He came to us as a young guy in his early 20s, and it became his absolute passion to learn everything as quickly as possible. He was the best mezzer. That's the start-off grade at Vida, where he just wanted to be the best and the fastest mezzer and keep the store clean. In between those jobs, he was learning recipes about food, and he was fascinated by the coffee machine. Today, 3 years later, he is in he's 24, 25, and he's manager of a high turnover store at Bagatelle. Also in that store is a young guy who came to us at 17, and he started obviously as a mezzer. I can't mention names, but we looked at him and we thought, what are we going to do with this guy? We desperately needed a mezzer to keep our stores clean, to do the washing up, to keep the cups clean for the baristas and the plates clean for food. What are we going to do with this boy? He was immature, he was young, we couldn't see him progressing. But it just showed that with training, perseverance, and involving him and showing him where we want to take our brand, today he can bake, he's a food specialist, and he's one of our best baristas. And that happened, I would say, in about 18 months. This young guy, who's not yet 20, is now one of our top guys. He's one of our vibiest people. He's an energy in the store. He's still young. He still does silly things, but he's young. He's not even 20. But from 17 to 19, over the last 2 years, 18 months, he's just grown and matured in his own time. So never knock someone too quickly, because some people learn very quickly and they grow quickly. Other people just need a little bit of time, a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of patience, and we like that. We want to see those. We want to see more of those stories where people grow into something. It's a great sense of achievement, you know. It makes you feel good as a mentor, kind of thing.
Lindsay, it was the last question. If I put you in front of your career, the lawyer, the film industry, and now coffee and what's going on here, which one you're going to choose? If you had to choose, you sit back, you start your career. You have a young guy.
Yeah. One must first of all, one must never have regrets. I think it was Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs from Apple, who said, you can never connect dots going forward. You can never say, I'm going to study law, I'm going to become a lawyer, I want to do this, I want to do that. Only one day you can sit back and you can connect the dots backwards, and you can see how every single step that you've taken along the way has got you to where you are now on this journey. And I will never forget those words, and that's how I see my life. Law is such a major part of my life, because every time I open a shop I've got to sit and do a contract, either at a bank or with a landlord. Every time I employ staff, it's a contract. There are contracts flying all the time. So law has been amazing. It's taught me a bit of logic. And then my journey through into the entertainment industry and going to the film festivals and the markets in Cannes and the television markets, you learn to network. And I think when you come to a new country, you have to embrace that country and its culture. And you have to get to know people and network. You can't come and impose on them. You have to blend in, stay below the radar, and just find your feet. So everything I've done is a journey, but I would say I'm having the most fun I've ever had at the moment.
Lindsay Woodross, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.